Yeah, good morning all. Hey, we've just come down to a place most of you should recognise from last year's Endurance Challenge for a little bit of reflection after a nice early morning looking at the sunrise over this year's event. I've wanted to be catching up for a bit of a chat for a little while now, just to run through a couple of little things. And Walking4Warriors, we're 100% about like challenging ourselves, supporting each other as a team, developing a warrior mindset, to build the resilience to fight through life and support each other as a community. Obviously we've got a strong respect for our military and appreciation for that, and that leads us into the endurance challenge and other ways that we try and support our veterans in any way we can. And by doing that, we're also just continuing that process of building a strong community, of surrounding ourselves with other warriors and strong people in order to make sure when it matters that we're ready to deal with whatever's thrown at us. When we look at that side of the whole situation, the Walking4Warriors stuff, we draw our inspiration from lots of different sources, I guess, and what we've incorporated this year in our endurance challenge is sort of what I'm trying to get at. It's something a little bit unique, and it's not unique to the Australian military, but it's a unique concept, and that's during Navy SEAL Hell Week. They have a bell. It's a simple brass bell that stands in the courtyard, and the way you quit buds is you ring the bell and then it's all over. So you're basically you're suffering for as long as you can, and then if you ever get to the point where you're done and dusted, it's a real simple thing. All you do is go and ring the bell, but that bell holds accountability, and by you doing that, you've made that final decision that you're pulling out and quitting. So what we want to do this year is implement a bell as well in the endurance challenge. So our Navy cadets have been kind enough to lend us a beautiful brass bell, which we'll have hanging at the event this year. And what we want to ask everyone, obviously, firstly, I never want to hear that bell be rung. But what we want to encourage people to do is keep that in your mind. It'll be out there. If you decide you need to quit for whatever reason, be it physical or mental, we want to encourage you to ring that bell just as a sort of show of respect, and a little bit of accountability. But also just gives you that chance to have a think about it for a second, and before you ring it, just make sure that it's the right decision and you want to make it. You don't have to. We're not going to force you to ring the bell. We understand that it may create stress and whatever, but when we link it back to our Walking4Warriors mindset, we're basically trying to develop that never quit attitude, because at some point in time that's going to matter. So the bell's there. If you feel like you need to quit, make sure you're talking to people, make sure you're fighting through, doing everything you can to survive and stick it out. But we'll also encourage you, if you do decide your day's done and you want to support the others, come up, we'll give the bell a ring, and job done, take your bib off. The endurance challenge, well, hopefully by now everyone understands the purpose of that and why we're here, why we signed up, why we're committed to getting out and getting after it for a significant length of time. It's all about demonstrating our respect to our veterans and our military personnel. That's 100% what it's about, doing something extremely difficult, and hopefully by doing that it just demonstrates what it means to us, the sacrifices that they make. So when you're out there on Saturday, make sure you're keeping that in the forefront of your mind. When you're lapping around, make sure you're giving it everything you've got, please. It's not supposed to be easy. Make sure you're out there putting all your effort in, is what we ask. Commit to it. Make sure you reflect on the images that are up on the big screen, and talk to other people that are there, get to know people, and you might be interested in finding out some of their stories as well. Plenty of service personnel there on the day, walking and running around, so let's get to know each other and continue to build that community. I guess just in finishing, I'll touch on a couple of real quick points about the event. I've been down to the Seagulls footy fields a couple of times now early in the morning. It's going to be wet, it's going to be dewy for several hours. I'll throw it out there, maybe consider bringing a sacrificial pair of shoes and socks for those first couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, until the grass dries out. Otherwise you're going to be walking in wet shoes and socks for the whole time period. That's not an issue as long as you make sure you look after your feet. We've touched on that in the past. Chafing and blisters are a problem. Don't let them happen. They can be prevented through doing the right things. Vaseline, 3B cream, whatever it's got to be. There's plenty of options out there. Mandatory gear, I'll do a post about that as well, but headlamps for anyone that's going to be out there after 1800, which is our 24-hour people. Water bottle and cups are essential for the aid station, please. Turn up fit and healthy, and bring some Aerogard and sunscreen. Consider the weather, make sure you check the weather forecast leading up to it. Nothing we can do about it. The event will go ahead no matter what, but obviously rain, hail or shine, you need to be prepared for those conditions and take appropriate measures. That's probably all I've got on the mandatory gear. RSL guys are going to be cooking breakfast, lunch and dinner for anyone that wants to support the RSL, with burgers and soft drinks. The bar will be open midday and then again later in the afternoon, all based around finish times obviously, for our participants. So yeah, bring some cash down, support the local groups. Obviously Seagulls have given us everything we need for the event, which we appreciate, and so if we can support them by celebrating with a beer at the end, let's do that. And obviously the RSL guys with the burgers and stuff like that. There'll be plenty of food for our participants through the day, and through the night obviously. Coffee, we're going to have coffee there for you, thanks to Warfighter and Tony from Deja Brew to Go Coffee, so thank you very much. That's can be purchased down there, and the volunteers, obviously extremely grateful for everyone that's put their hand up to offer to volunteer, all the supporters of the participants and also all the participants that are willing to hang around afterwards. My goal was to have more volunteers than we needed, and that way no one had to really do too much work, except for us organisers. That's our responsibility, but basically we want you to have a good time, want it to be as relaxed as possible. The volunteer side of things is really just all about supporting our participants and supporters, whether it's through making burgers with the RSL guys or just manning that aid station, which is just all about cheering everyone on. And we'll have some merchandise for sale down there this year, so hats, shirts, some stickers, stubby coolers, so you can support Walking4Warriors and young veterans through purchasing merchandise. The RSL will have merchandise down there as well, which is their Anzac Day merchandise that they normally have up at the shopping centre. So they'll have a marquee down there with all RSL merchandise, so we can support the RSL as well, by buying Anzac merchandise. So we just encourage you to do all of that. We'll have some FPOS and obviously cash down there. So yeah, let's see how all that goes. It's a bit of a challenge, and